I watched a video on the internet a few months ago.
Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video.
A certain chap ended up talking about a newspaper article.
Why does Dooku never get those distinctive yellow Sith eyes, the ones we see in Anakin or Darth Maul?
This was quite a surprise to me, as it presented a concept I'd never heard of. The idea is that all Sith have yellow eyes. I find this to be a strange and exotic notion, because this had never been the case.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Let's start in the time before time, with Return of the Jedi. The fact of the matter is that Emperor Palpatine has orange irises.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
That's a very unusual feature for an Earth human. Maybe that's a natural human eye color in this galaxy, but I don't think so. Assuming Sheev doesn't wear contacts, there are two sensible ways to explain this. Either Palpatine isn't human, or his eyes have to be unnatural. Based on all the Empire's pro-human, anti-alien policies, I consider it very likely that its leader is human. That leaves us with one conclusion. The Emperor has inhuman eyes because of his nature as a Darksider.
The heat has made you powerful.
We could infer that in his past, Senator Palpatine did not have yellow eyes. However, at this point, there is only one Dark Lord of the Sith. A few minutes later, we see Lord Darth Vader with his helmet off. His eyes are not yellow, and there is no indication they ever have been. All our evidence says Darkside Force users may have yellow eyes. At the time, we had to infer the Sith were aligned with the dark side. Later, we would learn more about the Sith. For example, that the ruins on Yavin 4 were made by a race called the Massassi.
You ever see a Massassi, Linvar? No, what the stang is that? It's an ancient Sith weapon, sort of a long axe with points on either end.
These are fairly distinctive. They have red skin and yellow eyes. The Massassi are native to the Sith Empire, and we would later learn that they are Sith. On Yavin 4, they were brought to that moon by a chap named Naga Sadow, to use his title, Dark Lord of the Sith Naga Sadow. Through dark sorcery, Naga had significantly mutated his Massassi slaves. The description of red and yellow applies to their original form just as much as the mutants. Technically speaking, Naga Sadow's species is Sith. In actual fact, it's more accurate to say that he is a human-Sith hybrid. Practically all Sith of his era are, but Naga Sadow is one of the most human. He still has the red skin of the Sith and Massassi, but not the eyes. The new Essential Guide to Characters lists them as green. The comics show him with red irises, while the Massassi have yellow sclerae, no iris or pupil. One side of Naga Sadow's ancestry has yellow Sith eyes as their natural color. Sadow is the Dark Lord, leader and most powerful man in the entire Sith Empire. If anyone could reasonably be expected to have yellow eyes, it would be him. His rival Sith Lords are also shown to be distinctly lacking yellow eyes. After Naga Sadow had been dead for a while, he gained a new apprentice. This was Exar Kun, who is repeatedly listed as having grey eyes. Exar will become the Dark Lord of the Sith, the same title held by Darth Vader and Naga Sadow. Despite being the most powerful Darkside practitioner of the day, yellow eyes don't come up. Other Darkside figures are described with non-yellow eyes in lists of characters. Darth Bane has white eyes, despite ending up the greatest living Sith Lord. Bane is human, so white is not a natural eye color. That means the closest we've come to yellow eyes are Bane and the Massassi. This was the situation until about the year 1999. Emperor Palpatine's eye color was an anomaly, with nobody really similar. When The Phantom Menace came out, it showed Senator Palpatine's eyes.
I feel confident our situation will create a strong sympathy vote for us. I will be Chancellor.
As we had always suspected, during his time in the Senate, he used to look inconspicuous. More noteworthy, Palpatine is established to be a Sith Lord.
I will contact Lord Sidious.
This scheme of yours has failed, Lord Sidious.
My lord, Yes, my lord. The invasion is on schedule, my lord. Yes, my lord. She has disappeared, my lord. My lord, it's out of our range.
Not full of Sith.
The Sith Lord.
Yes, my lord. It won't be long, my lord.
Lord Moore, be mindful.
I have your approval to proceed then, my lord.
The same movie added Darth Maul, who very visibly had yellow and red eyes. This, I believe, is the true origin of the Sith eyes concept. It is a distinctive visual element with a history in the original movies. However, I remain unconvinced that Maul's eyes come from his Sith training. The only unnatural feature we can be certain of are his tattoos. Darth Maul has a series of horns, which are common to all Zabrak. He is from the planet Iridonia, the homeworld of the Zabrak. Iridonia's harsh environment motivated their history of colonial expansion. Zabrak from Iridonia, like Darth Maul, are considered distinct from the others. Their culture is more warlike, with an expectation of skill in martial arts. However, there is no mention of physical differences between Maul and the Zabrak from off-world. Zabrak are known to have a variety of skin and eye colors. Darth Maul has naturally red skin, the tattoos only use black ink. As for his eye color, the Zabrak can have orange, red, purple, or yellow eyes. Once again, we encounter a species whose yellow eyes and red skin are meaningless. That's just what they look like. The red ones aren't inherently the baddies. While it might not be natural for a human to have yellow eyes, it definitely is for the Zabrak. For the case of Darth Maul specifically, we do have some additional evidence. There exists a comic showing Maul's early training, getting his Sith infiltrator. This includes occasional flashbacks to his childhood on Iridonia, being recruited by Sidious. The comic ends on a pair of close-up panels, contrasting young and old Maul. By far the most obvious difference is that the child lacks any tattoos. If we focus on the eyes, they have been drawn with a distinct difference. Adult Maul has his classic eye color, yellow with a red rim. The child version has pale irises that could be meant as either red or yellow. They are a very similar color to the red eyes of Naga Sadow in his comic form. Slight problem, Naga Sadow is listed as having green eyes. I don't think we can take the comic art as entirely reliable. However, the two panels of Maul are an intentional contrast. Since the eyes were drawn differently, we can assume something about his eyes changed. If becoming a Sith Lord affected his eyes, it would have been adding red to the edges. Yellow is the base color and quite normal for a Zabrak. At this point, it's time to bring in some new evidence. The character customization options from the online game SWTOR. I admit this is just as questionable as the comic art. Cosmetic options in an MMORPG may not be entirely lore accurate, especially so the more you need to pay for them. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, there are quite a few races available. The relevant ones to this subject are the Sith Pureblood and the Zabrak. There are two flavors of Zabrak, one for each major faction. Light side ones are brown like Eth Koth, dark side ones are red like Maul. Jedi Zabrak get a set of normal human eye colors, brown, green, that sort of thing. Sith Zabrak get a set that includes yellow, green, and blue. However, the dark side ones always have a red rim around the iris. A Sith Pureblood character has more limited selection, red, orange, or yellow eyes. All of this is on a racial basis, with no reference to your class. Being Force-sensitive isn't related to these eye colors, they are natural. It doesn't matter if you're a Jedi, Sith, bounty hunter, or smuggler. A Zabrak from the Sith Empire will always have the red rims, despite not having Force powers. Your character's individual light and dark moral choices are not a factor either. I believe you can get an eye override if you're evil enough, but you may have to buy it using real money. We should be careful not to take these game mechanics too literally. I do not believe it's canon that having a certain skin or eye color makes you evil. Characters look this way so that you can immediately tell when someone is from the opposite faction. Star Wars has always gone out of its way to emphasize that Devaronians are not evil. You can't assume that just because someone has red skin and horns, he must be a Darksider. Even the Sith species aren't actually tied to the Dark Jedi. Their history and culture are, to be sure, but the individuals are still just people. That leaves one bit of evidence left to cover. In Episode 3, we see Palpatine's eyes change color. This happens at the same moment his face gets deformed. There's room to speculate about the exact cause for the transformation. Clearly, it must be related to the use of force lightning, either the casting or being hit by the reflected lightning. Since Luke was hit by similar amounts of force lightning, I conclude it's from the casting. However, Dooku doesn't change at all from his own lightning use. I have to conclude that Senator Palpatine has been trying very hard to look normal. Any decay caused by his dark side experiments has to be hidden, lest he look suspicious. Furthermore, he needs to hide his Force signature from the entire Jedi Order. When Palpatine is caught, he decides to unleash his full power and shed his disguise. This causes his appearance to catch up with what it would have been, and possibly get worse.
The attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed.
I reckon Dooku has been spending much less time and effort on hiding his true nature. Still some, but Dooku has been more concerned with avoiding dark side decay of his face. There is one other relevant event in Episode 3. Unlike the other examples, Anakin goes back and forth for his eyes. He has normal eyes when arriving in the Confederacy's war room on Mustafar. By the time he's most of the way through killing them, Ari has yellow eyes. After he goes outside for some fresh sulfur air, they're back to normal. They stay normal while he chokes his wife and tries to murder his best friend. Killing the Jedi and the younglings didn't cause yellow eyes. Betraying and dismembering Mace Windu didn't cause any visual change.
A powerful Sith you will become.
The only time they go yellow again is while lying beside the lava river, missing his limbs. By the time he's being fitted for the Vader mask, the eyes are back to their natural color. Now let's try to make sense of all this. Palpatine has a one-way change to his eye color. Maul always has yellow eyes, which don't transform. Dooku has no change to his appearance, despite using the same Force lightning.
I've become more powerful than any Jedi. Even you.
Suitless Vader has eyes that go back and forth multiple times. My conclusion is that Palpatine has a unique situation, and nobody else is expected to transform the same way. Darth Maul has naturally yellow eyes, like the Massassi do. Vader has yellow eyes for only a few moments at a time, while channeling intense dark side energy. Remember, this is literally the first day Darth Vader has used the dark side. He doesn't know what he's doing, so he's throwing around more power than he needs to, trying far too hard, getting things wrong, and having mediocre results. Anakin was also told he needs to be very evil.
Do what must be done, Lord Vader. Do not hesitate. Show no mercy.
Count Dooku has what we can infer is the standard situation. That is, his eyes stay their natural color at all times. He probably could cause the yellow effect if he wanted to, but Dooku has no reason to. The Count is a sophisticated, refined, subtle man. He doesn't need to rely on brute strength to achieve his ends. Therefore, there is no change to his eyes.
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours. Now, back down.
His use of the Force is like a scalpel, not a giant anime sword.
I've been looking forward to this.
Dooku can see the cost of sacrificing his normal, incognito appearance. He is always in control, so he doesn't resort to desperate measures.
You're impossibly outnumbered.
I don't think so.
We'll see.
In the video I watched, there was a claim that yellow means losing control.
What I think it is an individual completely losing themselves.
The force that controls your actions, not the part that obeys. This is not how I see the matter. Dooku has a lifetime of experience as a Jedi before turning. By the time we meet him, Dooku has great-grand apprentices.
Qui-Gon Jinn would never join you.
Don't be so sure, my young Jedi. You forget that he was once my apprentice, just as you were once his.
The Jedi have nothing more to teach him. While he was on the side of good, Dooku was a mighty Jedi Knight. Almost any situation could be resolved without drawing a weapon. Put simply, Dooku has little need for either side of the Force. He could accomplish more through diplomacy than Darth Maul ever could. We never see Count Dooku lose control, but that's not the point. Darth Maul and the unmasked Palpatine have been on the dark side for most of their lives. Palpatine was not an old man when he first learnt about the Sith. Maul barely knew a life outside his role as apprentice. These two had never been trained as Jedi, and so they fell completely. When they approach the Force, it is purely from the dark side. That isn't the case for Anakin and Dooku. With their background, it is easy for them to use neutral or light abilities.
You know, milady, Count Dooku was once a Jedi. He couldn't assassinate anyone. It's not in his character.
They have a fundamentally different mindset from pure Sith. To bring games into it again, think of the KOTOR alignment meter.
We don't have time for this.
A Sith apprentice is all the way at the dark end, completely out of balance. Any ex-Jedi would have started at the other end and dropped below the center line. Most of their Force usage will have been light for many years after they fall. This is the position Anakin was in. Despite his shortcomings, he had been firmly sticking to the light. Where Palpatine and Maul have tainted eyes by default, Vader does not. We don't see any signs of them until hours after purging those younglings. Ransacking the Jedi Temple is a bit more than a drop in a bucket. Even so, yellow eyes only show up when ending the war. This is not Anakin losing control, like Luke once did. He is carefully doing exactly what he was told to. On this day, he took several steps down the dark path, intentionally giving in to hate, just as he was trained to avoid. In the end, the fallen Anakin is not ready for the dark side. He fights mostly as a Jedi, grasping for more power. Even that isn't enough to overpower his master. With his more limited training, Luke was better at the dark side. He was able to wield the strength of hatred for a moment.
Your hate has made you powerful. Now, fulfill your destiny.
Where Luke backed away from the darkness, Anakin pressed forward. The newly minted Vader was promised power and got barely a taste. That's my interpretation of the yellow eyes. They represent balance. How much you draw on the dark side overall, and how recently. They show up for a moment when you're on a downward trajectory. It takes a life of darkness to make them permanent. Finally, we must not forget that yellow can be a natural eye color. Sometimes, it doesn't mean anything at all.
I can't. It's too big.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you?
There are two ways to support us. Become a patron at patreon.com/thebreadcircus, or subscribe, like, and comment. Only the former option guarantees that your name lives on in history. The other is embarrassing YouTube-y stuff.
What, you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that? I'm a Toydarian. Mind tricks don't work on me. Only money. No money, no parts, no deal.